Welcome to the Casella 2022 Sonar World Championships on beautiful Lake Sunapee. The championships are being presented by the Lake Sunapee Cruising Fleet and hosted by the Lake Sunapee Yacht Club. 22 Sonar skippers from across North America will be competing in up to 12 races between Thursday, June 16th and Sunday, June 19th. Here we are on race number 1 on Thursday, June 16th. We have 22 boats hitting the starting line here at the north end of Lake Sunapee. The wind today is approximately 13 knots out of the southeast, and the course length is approximately 3.5 miles. Ideally at the start you want to be the boat on the starboard tack by the committee boat. You're in control of the race there, you're free, you have free air, and you can tack away as that boat did on the bottom of the screen. Other boats are looking for which side of the lake the wind might be just a little bit more favorable before they make their first tack. We have USA 564 and Ping beating on starboard tacks up to the windward mark. Here we have Nefarious taking charge of the race on the first upwind leg, headed towards mark number 1. Nefarious, the inside boat, is closing in on the first upwind mark. Nefarious hits the first mark in first place. Sonar 619 is in second place. You'll see Ping coming into the picture and Rafiki, followed by USA 654. There's an offset on this mark, so there's actually 2 windward marks. They have to go around both marks, and then they'll start heading north downwind. You can see the wind coming straight down the lake, and they'll put up their spinnakers as they round this first mark and head back to the starting line, where they'll round that and then head back up to this windward mark and then back downwind with spinnakers to finish. Spinnakers are being set. And it's an ideal day for racing today. There's a good steady wind on the lake at 13 knots, and it should be fairly steady with not a lot of shifting. As you can see, the wind's coming all the way from way down on the southern end of the lake, and the shoreline mountains aren't really affecting the wind. This weekend the wind's supposed to blow out of the northwest, which will change the whole dynamics of the course. Here's Nefarious out in the lead, heading downwind. Beautiful shot with all the spinnakers fully inflated. Here we are headed upwind on the third leg of the race to mark number 3, and Nefarious continues to stay out in front. Here we have kind of an interesting aerial shot of the boats, the lead boats, rounding mark number 3 on the third leg of the first race, and there you can see Nefarious has quite a margin over the rest of the fleet at this point. So he's reaching across to the second windward mark there, the offset. And coming into the picture, here comes Ping, followed by Sonar 619 and Rafiki coming into your picture. And just as they're hitting the first mark, Nefarious is going to launch the spinnaker and head downwind to the finish line. Here's Nefarious crossing the finish line, winning the first race of the Casella 2022 Sonar World Championships. He even had his spinnaker down a little bit before the finish line. That's when you know you've sailed a pretty good race. And here's our second, third, and fourth boats having a very close finish, with US 619 edging out Ping and Rafiki finishing 4th. Here we are with the start of race number 2 on Thursday, June 16th at the Casella 2022 Sonar World Championships. We're off to a clean start for the second race today. We have 22 boats racing. And it looks like the wind has picked up as they head south down the lake towards the first mark. It looks like USA 654 is going to round the mark first, followed by Rafiki and Resonance. As you can see over at the first mark, you're going to see some pretty good jockeying for position as they approach that first mark at the windward end of the course. Boats coming in on a port tack have to give way to the boats coming across on a starboard tack, and it gets a little congested at that first mark. Right here. Spinnakers popping, and it's a beautiful view with the spinnakers as the boats head down the lake. The leaders are approaching the gate mark where they'll have to drop their spinnakers and head back upwind to the third mark. And through the gate mark you can go between the marks, but you can go either to the right or to the left. So two boats are choosing to go one way and one boat going the other. You have to be paying very careful attention to where you're headed up the lake. The leaders are now approaching the third mark. Rafiki still out in the lead, and Resonance has dropped to fourth place, rounding this mark. Resonance is skippered by Brian Doyle of the Lake Sunapee Yacht Club and Lake Sunapee Cruising Fleet. Fox has moved into third place. US 654 still in second, and Resonance coming around the mark in fourth. Rafiki, with a commanding lead, headed to the finish line, wins by quite a margin. And US 554 puts on a surge at the finish line to nip Resonance for second place, Resonance finishing third, Fox finishing fourth. So we're zooming in with our drone here on the starting line of the race, number 5 today. And they're starting over on the east side of the lake. The wind has been shifting around during the morning, which delayed the start of the race about an hour. And we're finally getting underway about 11:30 in the morning on Friday. Here we are getting set for the start of the race. We originally set a course and we were all set to go for an 11 o'clock start, and then the wind shifted, so we had to change the course around. And now it's almost 11:30 on Friday, and the boats are getting ready to start jockeying towards the starting line. We have 22 boats racing today, and we have a nice aerial shot here of them jockeying back and forth. The pin is at the left side of the screen, the committee boat's over at the right side. We're just getting ready to start, and there we go, the first boat at the end of the line on the starboard tack, just at the pin end of the line, and we're ready, and we're racing. The fleet is probably going to start to split up here. Some take a starboard tack, some take a port tack, just to see where the best wind advantage is to beat up to the first mark. You can see some of the fleet going off to the right, some of the fleet going off to the left. In lake sailing, the wind today is coming more out of the west, which means it's coming over the mountains that parallel the lake, and that affects the wind. So skippers have to be watching the water and determine which side of the course has the most advantageous wind direction for them to beat up to the first mark. So the boats are headed west now from the east shore behind them across the lake towards the yacht club. As you can see how spread out the field is right here, there's quite a distance between the boat furthest down the lake and the boat closest to our camera. So they're all trying to feel out the wind and see which route is the most advantageous to get them up to the first mark. Now in this shot, it appears that USA 654 and Nefarious have moved into the lead position, now heading up to the first mark. Resonance has moved into third place, and Still Sailing, we feel, is in fourth place at this point in relation to the first mark. You can see our 4 leaders on port tack heading towards mark number 1. USA 654, followed by Nefarious, Still Sailing, and Resonance. Spinnakers will be deployed, and they head back across the lake to the east towards the starting line and the gate marks. And you can see in the background there's some dark clouds forming, which eventually are going to have an effect on the race. So the fleet is now heading back east across the lake from the yacht club, back down to the 2 gate marks. And here we are rounding the gate marks. The 2 lead boats head off on starboard tacks. If you look at the water, you can see that the wind is starting to pick up. The clouds are forming off to the right of your viewing screen here, and it's starting to get dark. Here's a little covering operation going here as the second boat tacks, the first boat tacks across to cover it. But keep your eyes on the top of the screen. You can see a lot of gray stuff up there in that little gap in the terrain, and that's going to start getting ever closer to the race course. And you can see the wind is starting to pick up. The 2 lead boats tack back to starboard. Weather's approaching, and you can see Ping is starting to gain some ground on the far right-hand side of the course. We still have the 2 leaders in the foreground, USA 654 and Nefarious. But you can see a bunch of boats way above these boats. And now you can see the wind at the very top of the screen. The water's turning dark gray, and there's a squall coming in from the north, and there's going to be a dramatic wind shift to the right, which means the boats sailing on the right-hand side of the course are going to be able to almost reach into the third mark, and they won't have to be beating upwind. Of the 4 boats who were in control of most of this race, USA 564, Nefarious, Still Sailing, and Resonance, Resonance was the only boat on the right side of the course which benefited from the wind shift, and they round the mark first. So they've rounded the third mark, and they're heading back down to the finish line. And Resonance, who came from the 4th position back to win the race, Ping is going to finish 2nd, Crush is going to finish 3rd, and Sought After will finish 4th. So our 2 leaders, USA 654 and Nefarious, for most of the race, got waylaid at the 3rd mark when they were on the left-hand side of the course And the boats on the right-hand side of the course got a very favorable wind shift from the squall that came through with high winds and rain, as you could see on the downwind leg with their spinnakers. And that changed the outcome of the race right there. After 5 races, we have a preliminary cumulative results. In first place is USA 384 Nefarious, skippered by Bob Lawrence and Bob Savini, with 15 points. In second place, Canada 754 Ping, skippered by Andreas Josenhaas, with 17 points. Third place, USA 787 Resonance, skippered by Brian Doyle from the Lake Sunapee Yacht Club. In fourth place, USA 619 Sonar 619, skippered by Lee Morrison with 27 points. And in fifth place, sail number 780 Still Sailing, skippered by Skip Shumway with 32 points. The Lake Sunapee region is one of the few communities in the country where you can ski year-round. During the summer season, the lake provides water skiing, fishing, swimming, and boating. During the winter, Mount Sunapee Resort, located at the south end of the lake, is one of the most popular ski and snowboard destinations in New Hampshire. The views of Lake Sunapee from the trails in Sun Bowl are spectacular. For more information about visiting our beautiful area, contact the Lake Sunapee Region Chamber of Commerce. Okay, it's Saturday, June 18th, and here we have race number 8 starting in the morning. It's a 2.5 nautical mile course, and the winds today are 15 to 25 miles an hour out of the west-northwest. And as usual, we've had the fleet spread out across the lake trying to find the best wind to get up to the first windward mark. Sought After is out in front at this point. Tacks over and seems to be in control, headed up to the first mark. It's chilly today, 55 degrees. I think it was snowing on top of Mount Washington this morning up in northern New Hampshire. So Sought After is well in control here on the first leg as we head up to the first windward mark. The boats are approaching the first windward mark with the offset. Sought After has a nice lead going into that first mark. Sought After is really in control of the race at this point. Spinnakers go up, and we're headed down to the gate mark down by the starting line. Nice set of the spinnaker by Sought After. Beautiful shot there. Headed down the lake, the rest of the boats are still rounding the mark. Following Sought After, it's Sonar 554, Rafiki, and then Nefarious. And they're headed down back to the gates, the gate marks by the start line. We're down at the 2 gate marks, and again, Sought After, first boat around the mark. Spinnakers are coming down. You can see Sought After in the background, so turning there, dropping the spinnaker. Some boats are heading off to the right side of the course, other boats heading off to the left side of the course. And we're heading back up to the second windward mark, and you can see Sought After has a nice lead, and it's followed by none other than Nefarious, who's been sailing really well over the first 3 days of this championship. Looks like Nefarious tacks over, and Sought After tacks to cover. And now here we're approaching the second windward mark. Sought after is in the lead. Nefarious has gained a little ground since they were here before. And the rest of the fleet is still, there's a pretty big lead now for these two boats over the rest of the fleet. Now watch carefully here. Sought after having a little trouble getting the spinnaker up. They may have a broken halyard, but they can't get their spinnaker up, and there goes Nefarious passing Sought after just after the second windward mark. And it's either a broken halyard or they lost their halyard, but they're struggling to get that spinnaker up. And Nefarious is taking advantage. Now we had a broach. Still sailing, has broached, a man overboard, and there's Rafiki sailing by, just managing to avoid them. You can see one of the crew members off the back of the boat, and they're trying to get things under control. Here come the spinnakers headed down the lake, and you can see that still sailing was not still sailing when those boats were sailed by. So now we have our two leaders, Nefarious and Sought after, who made a nice recovery after having trouble with their spinnaker. And these two boats are going to head to the finish line and finish 1-2. All right, here comes the start of race number 2 on Saturday, race number 9 of the series. And we've got Ping, Wine Knot, Crush, and Helm's Deep off to a good start off the starting line. And again, the boats are probably going to split. Some are going to go to the left side of the course, some will go to the right side of the course as they head west across the lake to the first upwind mark. They're over the start line and off and running. Race number 9, 2.5 nautical miles, 15 to 25 mile per hour winds today out of the west-northwest. We've had broken halyards, we've had broken booms today, we've had man overboard. It's been a pretty wild day. Here's a great shot of Fawkes on a port tack driving up across the lake towards the first mark. You can really capture the speed and the power of these boats when they're beating. Probably going 8 or 9 knots right now in this heavy wind today. Beautiful shot. Now here are the skippers. The fleet has split again. Some on the right side of the course, some on the left side of the course. They're trying to find the best air to get up to that first mark. Renaissance is in the center of the leg, and just below is USA 554, who will eventually be 11th at the first mark. So you can see how things can change depending on which course you choose to take up into the wind. Here we are approaching the first mark. Rounding the mark first is Rafiki. Followed by Resonance. And Sought after a nice finish in the first race. Nefarious. And the 5th boat around the mark will be Fawkes. A beautiful shot from above and behind as the boats head down the downwind leg. And you'll watch Resonance here overtaking Rafiki as they head down to the gate mark by the starting line. Brian Doyle's got to put the pedal to the metal here on this leg down towards mark number 2. Beautiful view today. Lots of wind. We've had no lacking of wind here at Lake Sunapee for these championships. And tomorrow, they're predicting 10 to 20 out of the west-northwest again. Here's a close-up of some of the leaders as they head down towards the gate mark number 2. And that's Resonance out front with the purple spinnaker. They're throwing quite a nice little wake as they go down. Now we're rounding the first mark. There goes Resonance. They've already off on a port tack, and they're tacking back up through the spinnaker fleet as they come down to the mark. We've had 3 boats retire already today, and you can see them back at the yacht club here. We've had a broken boom and some other problems with some of the boats. And here we are approaching mark number 3 for race number 9. And here's some interesting sailing going on here at the mark. Pay attention to the little battle that Nefarious and Resonance have here at the mark. And Nefarious is going to win this one. Resonance can't make it to the mark, so they have to tack. But now they're on port, so they have to avoid Nefarious. So they sail behind him. Now Nefarious tacks over to cover him, which is exactly what he should do. And now he's going to tack to starboard, and he'll beat Resonance to the mark. There's a nice piece of sailing for Nefarious. That's textbook tactics. The third boat around the mark is Rafiki, and they're going to pop the spinnakers. Nice job with Nefarious getting that red and white spinnaker up. We've seen that, and here comes the purple spinnaker for Resonance and blue for Rafiki, and it's going to be a drag race to the finish line, 0.65 miles away. But a beautiful shot. There's Mount Sunapee looming at the south end of the lake. I don't think they got any snow last night, but Mount Washington did up in northern New Hampshire. But as you can see, it's a 3-horse race to the finish line. Another tactic going downwind like this is you can cover the boat in front of you. The boat clear ahead has the right of way, but you can get behind them and try to block the air into their spinnaker. And that looks like what Resonance is trying to do right now to Nefarious, but they got to watch out for Rafiki, who's gone off on a little bit of a reach, which is a little bit faster point of sail, trying to gain ground on those 2 leaders. And there's that beautiful shot we've seen all weekend of almost 20 spinnakers. We don't have 22 boats in the race today because of some carnage, but it's just a beautiful shot. Resonance still trying to make up some ground on Nefarious as they approach the finish line, and that's how the race finished. We had 3 races today on Saturday. We showed you the first 2, so there's been a total of 10 races so far. And the standings after those 10 races, we have Nefarious in first place with 11 points, Ping in second place with 26 points, and Resonance from the Lake Sunapee Yacht Club in third place with 27 points.